Sean, there may not be a more critical part of the golf swing in how you actually hold the club.
Absolutely. If you don't get your hands on it the right way, that's the only thing that controls this club face, and that's the CEO of the golf swing right there.
Right. And
where that's pointed.
Exactly. And when we're talking about grip, we're not talking about everybody should have the same grip.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of variations in grips in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you know, and it goes along with size of their hand,
Sure.
palm length to finger length, the way their hands are comfortable on the club when they first pick it up when they're a kid. There's a few things that go into that.
But there are also things that we see every day on the lesson tee. We'll see them tomorrow. We'll see them the next day that really kind of sabotage any chance you have of hitting consistently solid golf shots.
Yeah, and Mike and I have grip preferences when you come to us.
Sure.
You know, we think there's probably a couple of ways to grip the club that make things a little bit easier, right? And we see commonalities in great players over the years. Even though the grips look a little different, there are commonalities.
Absolutely. And that's what we want to talk about today. We're going to show you 3 killers for the grip that a lot of golfers have either at setup or during the motion that can really keep you from playing some of your best golf. Sean, when I was in the gym this morning doing my pull-ups,
Yeah, I was watching you over there. Good job, by the way.
right, and this is my pull-up bar, I was not having much success because I was kind of using the fingertips to lift all of this body mass up in the air.
Yeah, you don't want to use just your fingertips, and conversely, you wouldn't want to just use your next to your palm, right?
Right.
Way down in the palm.
It's such a poor alignment with the forearms, right?
Yeah. So how this ties together with this video is how you put your hands on the club is very important, right? And it ties into other things we do in life.
Sure.
But I think, you know, if we're talking about grips, the number one issue we see is poor lead hand grips, right?
Mm-hmm.
Left hand
Yeah.
for right-handed golfers. And the analogy there with the pull-up bar is important because we want to grip the golf club or the grip in the base of the fingers where the fingers meet the palm. So it used to be I taught a lot of people that came in for lessons that had super palmy grips.
Let me hold this so you can move
Yeah,
your hand, right
they
hand
had
out of the
super
way.
palmy grips and they would grip it with the heel pad of their left hand on the side of the grip too much.
Yeah.
So I would fix them and say it needs to be more in the fingers. So that pad is on top. Well, the problem with that, and it's been taught out of people for years now, grip it in the fingers, grip it in the
Yeah.
fingers. Now in golf lessons, I'm seeing a little different trend. I'm seeing fingertip grips.
That's right.
So I started calling them, right? So they've got, like they're trying to do a pull-up with just the fingers. It wouldn't work. And when they get it in the fingers, their left hand gets in such a weird spot that they, again, are not in an ideal spot to control the club face, right? It actually gets loose. They start rubbing holes in the gloves. And if you're doing that, you need a grip change, right?
Yeah.
So what we want you to do is, again, grab this club like you were going to do a pull-up. We've talked about suitcases before. I even like this pull-up analogy
Yeah.
a little bit better because you would position it for strength.
Yes.
Because you can't pull yourself up from your fingertips nor from your palm. So get it in the base of the fingers, and that gives you a good spot with the lead hand.
That's right. So that's going to allow you to get the club hinging better.
Leverage.
Earlier, leverage is going to keep all of this kind of collapsing at the top that we see so often.
Yeah.
It's just going to put you in a much better position for things like lagging it, right?
For in a club face.
compression, for hinging, for all of those things, controlling the club face, absolutely. So that's got to be number one, right? Because that happens before we swing, and there's really no excuse. There's no physical excuse. You don't have to be on a diet. You don't have to be on an exercise plan to have a good grip.
No, and it's pre-swing. You know, pre-swing fundamentals. There's
excuse.
You can practice them at home, right?
Yeah.
10 minutes a day. We always talk about in the swing system on our membership site. You know, 10 minutes a day goes a long ways to creating a solid golf swing for the rest of your life. So work on your grip. If you're in checkpoint 1 of the swing system, you're going to work on your grip every day for 10 minutes until it looks the way it needs to, and you're able to put your hands on there the same way every time.
Yeah, because you take something like our swing system, it's the better you do the first checkpoints, the less you have to worry about the really fast checkpoints that happen and really in a spot of the swing that is very difficult to control.
Absolutely. So that gives us some thoughts on the lead hand, right?
Yep,
And we
yep.
could go into detail for 2 hours on the grip, and there were some other videos we did, but that's a big one right there.
So what's a good way to grip it?
So what I like to do is I look at Adam Scott and Ricky Fowler
Yep.
on the golf course. You'll see these guys. I think Adam Scott's this way. He won a tournament a couple weeks ago, so I happened to be watching him play golf, and he puts the club in front of him this way. And the reason he does that, he creates an offset angle between his lead arm and the club, so the club much easier goes into that base of the fingers. Now, that's a lot easier than setting up to the ball this way and trying to get your grip on there, because your hand is too much in alignment, your arm is too much in alignment with the golf club. So you have to twist your arm, and it's awkward for some people.
For most golfers, right, I would say this is the worst way to grip the club, is to set it down, get in your address, and grip it right there. Even knowing that, it's hard not to put it dead into the palm.
You have to twist your arm at an awkward angle. So either grip it up here in front of you, put it at 45, grip it this way, or offset it this way in front of you. Ricky Fowler, I think, does it this way. There's a couple of different ways to do it. The whole idea is to get the arm offset from the club, so it's almost naturally sits in the base of the fingers.
And that's how I like doing it. I like just to throw it up here. I kind of use this as my alignment stick.
And you've got a leading edge can be straight up and down. You can check the face.
And just grip it there. The same down here. I mean, you see these guys, they're good for a reason. They leave us a lot of clues on how to do things.
They're meticulous.
Yeah, you see so many golfers getting their clubs, their hands situated on the club with the club up here, and they're kind of looking at the shot they want to play, and they're getting that grip right. You don't see very many go down here, but we see that all the time in lessons.
100%.
All right, so that's getting the club, the hands on the club correctly. Now let's talk about another issue that we see all the time, and this is more of an in-swing issue.
Yes. So it really does tie into this first grip issue we talked about, and it's an in-swing issue that causes so many problems, and one of them is casting.
Yes.
Which I know a lot of you are trying to get rid of, and you're trying so many different things to try to stop casting. Maybe you're trying to pull and lag on the club,
right,
and hold angle as long as you can, but you don't realize that it's something you're doing with your grip at the top of the swing that's causing this club to cast, right? So as you get to the top of the swing, the kiss of death is to, I would say, hold the club too lightly. And I know some people are gonna be like, what? You're holding the club too lightly. If you don't grip it hard enough, the weight of this club is gonna cause the left hand that you just established at address in such a good spot, it's gonna cause it to get loose. Mm-hmm. And when you re-grab that club to try to get some speed in the downswing, you leverage the club in a way that when you re-grip it, it makes it cast out. So there's no way for you not to cast just because you're releasing the pressure in the grip.
No, when you see this club, and you see this with so many golfers, get to the top, and then boom. Like, that's almost a guaranteed forecast that you're going to be forced to cast.
Absolutely.
Because nobody goes here and then takes it down. It's always a rebound. And that's you getting that grip back on the club.
Yeah, you have to re-grip it to put speed in it.
Boom, and then the club's already fleeing out there to the behind you for the cast.
Absolutely. You know, and like I said, we think golfers grip the club too lightly most of the time because they've been taught to grip it like a bird, right? And they grip it really lightly at address, and when they get some momentum in it, that bird grip becomes so light that the club gets loose. So hold it firmly enough, and Mike and I talk about this a lot. If I closed my eyes and Mike grabbed this club when I wasn't ready, try to pull it out of my hands, my brain instinctually tightens up.
Yes.
Okay? That tension or grip pressure that you have when your buddy tries to pull it out of your hands, that's the pressure you need in the grip throughout the swing. Now, let's say I've got it at a 7-ish, right? Mm-hmm. Not tight as I can, maybe at a 7. I can still have that grip pressure and have some softness in my forearms.
You could have a really solid, firm grip and have loose forearms and shoulders and elbows.
And it's a skill. I mean, again, I've been reading Golf Digest and Golf Magazine since I was 6 years old. And, you know, I remember there was an article, close your eyes, spin the club around, see if you can feel where it is when it's straight, because you could sense where the club face was. So I learned how to do that.
That's a great one.
And then it said, grip it as hard as you can and learn how to make a circle with your wrist. And at first, when I gripped it hard, I went, I couldn't move it. But
everything else got tight, right?
It's a learned skill, just like the rest of the golf swing. So once I learned to grip it tight and got some softness in my forearms and wrists, I've got complete control of the club face, but I still get club head speed and I get the club to release because I'm soft in my forearms.
And we're down here in Orlando at the PGA Merchandise Show, and we saw a really cool product that's coming out in a few months that has sensors in the grip. And it just like we see with Swing Catalyst, and it's the heat map of the feet, they're doing the same thing with the grip.
It's really interesting.
And what's really, you know, it makes sense when you think about it. What's really cool to see is how the grip pressure is dynamic throughout the swing.
Based on how fast the club is going.
At certain points of the swing, your grip pressure gets really intense. Certain other points, it's a little lighter, but it's always changing. So kind of trying to keep a light grip pressure and then get up to the top when this club's really starting to change directions is going to open up your hands on the club.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, keep it firm enough so where Mike or your buddy couldn't grab it out of your hands, and you know your brain will do the rest to make sure it doesn't fly out of your hands. I think the key takeaway: just don't grip it so light that it flops all around.
All right. So what's a great drill or a cue that we can keep that club from bouncing around up there at the top?
So yeah, a great one is to take a golf tee like this, okay, and at address, put it between your heel pad, which is the fatty part of your hand here, and the golf club and the grip. You should be able to hit balls and not let that tee fall out. So what most of you do, if you grip it light and loose, you're gonna have feedback. And again, we always say it, if you're not practicing with feedback, you're just exercising.
Right.
You're not getting any better. If you hit a ball and that tee fell out behind you, you know you didn't have the correct amount of pressure in the grip when the club changed direction.
And we do this a lot in lessons. What is, for someone who does that really poorly, right, that tee would fall out, what's kind of the first comment when they keep the tee in?
They feel like it's way too tight.
They feel like the grip's too tight
Yeah.
and the swing's too short.
Yeah, it shortens them up the correct way, because a lot of times when they loosen that grip, they overhinge.
Because golfers don't really feel this so much until you take it away. And when the club's solid, that's such a foreign feel that they're not really sure what to do with it. But that's exactly what you're after.
It's a classic overswing move.
You want that solid feel at the top. David says all the time, you be able to hang laundry on the club at the top.
That's right. You should be able to hang clothes up there.
Yep, so keep that tee under the heel pad and you'll be good to go with that. Now let's talk about the third thing that we see all the time in grips.
So along this similar line of this loosening or too light, the other key pressure point in the grip is putting the right palm solidly down on the left thumb.
So
right?
putting my palm pad there right on top of my thumb and putting some pressure downward on that grip.
And if you form your right hand correctly, it almost fits like a puzzle. It's really hard to see here, but it fits right over that thumb, just like a puzzle, right? And once you get that on there, you want to feel like there's a nail straight down through your right hand, through the left thumb. It comes out the other side. It's a great image. The other thing I use as a mental kind of cue is I let the golfer know, pretend that there's air sealed in between your hands. And if you loosen it, it lets air out. And you know, sometimes these images and thoughts help people, right? So I tell them, don't let the air out of your grip. And then they start having a sense, oh, that's a lot different feeling. That's a lot more solid, because before they may have had this, but they let go of this in an attempt to get more backswing length, and again, it affects the club face.
Have you ever used super glue for anything? It's impossible to not get it all over yourself.
Yeah.
I always picture I've got super glue between my thumb and my heel pad of my right hand, making one unit basically, and keeping those together.
You want one big hand,
yes,
not
one big
two
hand.
hands all over the place.
That's exactly right.
And that thought process will help you keep the grip solid. And again, I think it was Henry Cotton. He known for having really strong hands. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he used to hit a tire and all kinds of stuff. But he would say he could hit shots. Let's say he hit 10 shots. He would come back and he had the same exact.
Brutally difficult to do.
Very hard to do. But a great way to not only get a sense for how strong the grip needs to be, or how much pressure needs to be in the grip to keep that, also strengthens your wrists and forearms. And part of it's that, right?
There's not many professional golfers that don't have rugged, strong hands.
Yeah, just from hitting a lot of balls.
Yeah.
So practice these concepts, work on your grip at home, and don't discount how important it is.
What I like about this connection between the two hands is it really prevents the hammer move.
Yeah, talk to them about that.
So by that we mean we'll see a lot of golfers that have a pretty solid grip with this right hand. Everything looks pretty normal, and then somewhere in the golf swing this club kind of slips up to where they're kind of like holding a hammer, like how you would hold a hammer. You wouldn't hold a hammer really that way. Hold a hammer that way. When you get that in your golf swing, and we see this a lot of time at the finish, this club face is moving everywhere.
All over the place. So take your grip again. We'll throw one more little bonus tip in here. I've used this a million times on a lesson tee. I want Mike to pinch this tee tight right there and not let it go.
So I'm keeping that attitude right there rather than that.
If you keep that in there, you're going to have something to support the club with at the top, right? Because as soon as you let that thumb and forefinger loose, again, you get the bounce, right?
Yeah.
So again, we talked about one pre-swing and maybe two or three in-swing keys. A lot of you haven't even thought about this before, so take a step back, think about what you're doing, slow down to a point where you can make some swings and feel if you're having these issues in your swing, and you can go to work on them.
Absolutely. We see a lot of golf swings and lessons that the player is convinced it's this complicated swing fix.
100%.
Run off, all of this, can't control the club face, can't stop casting. You shore up the grip and that stuff goes away. So start with the most basic connection that you have with this club. Make sure that's locked down, literally, and you're going to be well on your way. If you found this video helpful and you need more help with your consistency, we want to help you with that. Go to the first comment below this video. You'll see a link. It's our first pinned comment. There'll be a link in there. Click on that link. We'll take you to our #1 consistency drill to help you hit the ball more solidly and more consistent every time you're out on the course.